our next panelists onto the podium. We've got Luyanda Hlatshwayo, who is African Reclaimers Organization. He's not here. I just read a message now to say he's not with us today, unfortunately. That is a real unfortunate thing, but it would have been lovely to hear him. But we've got Tshepo Mazibuko. Please make your way up. Chief Executive Officer of K1 Recycling. We've also got Dr. Avashnee Chetty, and Dr. Chetty is a Sustainability Manager at Safripol. And we've got Rishel, Dharmapall, who is ESG Sector Expert of the Circular Economy at Africa Business Network. Let's give them all a round of applause. Thanks, all of you. I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry that Luyanda couldn't be with us, but I'm sure we'll catch up with him when we can. Good to see all of you. Thank you. And of course, Dr. Chetty. Ever since we met last year, a lot has happened since then, and it's been wonderful to break into this sort of sustainability world and get a glimpse into the background workings of everything, which is fascinating, but at the same time imperative to everything we do. So if I can start with you, Avashnee, I've got you right next to me. How can South Africa, in a better way, transition from a linear take, make, dispose waste system to that circular economy that we were speaking about in the beginning, a vital one that really prioritizes resource recovery and job creation at the same time?
No, thank you, Leanne. So just to give context to the industry that I come from, so Safripol, we're a polymer producer. So we actually participate in the plastics industry. And perhaps some of you are going to say we're the other elephant in the room. And I'm here to say that's not the case. And if you look at the plastics value chain, it's actually quite complex and actually quite lengthy. So we sit upstream, actually at the start of that value chain.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the initiatives and sustainability drives that happen, typically that happens downstream at the brand owner space. And we actually consider the brand owner as the captains of the industry, because that's where decisions are taken, sustainability agendas are set, and they have the ability to pull the entire value chain. But just to give some perspective of the actions that we've taken over the past years and maybe the learnings. So like I said, we're primarily a virgin polymer producer. And we set our sustainability strategy perhaps 5 years ago. And the main focus has been on the circular economy. So we are committed to transition our product portfolio from being primarily virgin to containing recycled content. Now, what we found as being a barrier to entry in this space is that, if you look at our facilities, we run annually about 500,000 tons of polymers. Okay, so that's a huge volume.
Oof, that's massive.
So if we are to transition to a new feedstock base, there's a number of requirements that we need, not only to satisfy the market, but to actually build a viable business case around the transition. And one would be the quality of feedstock. We need high quality, consistent feedstock that can feed our operations, which typically are 24/7 operations. Then we need economies of scale. So we need large volumes, and we need to source this feedstock locally because we are committed to develop a local value chain for recycled polymers. And what we find is that there's huge limitations. Yes, as a country, and my colleagues are going to mention, we've made significant progress. We actually can compete globally in terms of the progress that we've made in the plastics recycling space.
Brilliant.
But there's still huge gaps. So in terms of what is needed, we actually need to change the entire system. We need a system-level change that will involve all of the value chain partners. And just to indicate the value chain partners, it's the raw material suppliers, polymer producers like ourselves, the plastic converters, the brand owners, the retailers, then it gets to the consumer, which is all of us in the room, and then it comes to the waste management sector. We need to pull and align all of these value chain partners together to bring about system level changes, we're basically saying we need a radical transformation of the entire industry.
Sure.
So that's the challenge at hand.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Can someone give me an idea of what our landfill sites look like? Yeah, our landfill sites here in South Africa. I mean, how are they looking?
Well, it's really a mess. It's because firstly, our municipalities, if you were to go to them and ask any question about this, maybe for them to give you data on how much waste is being generated in the community, so they don't have. Right, we don't have weight bridges. Like it's really problematic, and that is why now you always hear people saying we need an overall system, because we really don't have data of what is happening on the ground. I mean, I myself, for example, I used to be a waste picker. I started my business going to rubbish bins and actually collecting. But what happened is then moving up the chain is that I became a buyback center, then moved into pelletizing. But with that, I guess I'm the guy that you call the guy who walks the talk, because I've been through it. From your waste picking to buyback center, dealing with your waste pickers, all the way to producing or manufacturing of raw materials. But one thing that I've learned, Leon, is that especially there were a lot of speakers who spoke about the EPR, bill that was signed by government, that I think personally it was signed too soon, without proper research being done. And I'm going back to your question of landfill side, because producers will tell you, I mean, machines require clean material, right? And we're talking of resource efficiency, we're talking of sustainability. And when you look at how we collect the waste, because on the one side, the producers like Heineken, they're doing great, the ESG, they're making sure that they're cutting on their waste of water, water waste, electricity, energy, the rest. But when it comes to the collection of that packaging material, we've got a huge problem. It's really scary. And I hear people, we're using the word recycling. But behind that word, it's a mess. It's a bloodbath. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you look at the resource efficiency and cleaner production, companies are doing good. Coca-Cola is doing great. I mean, Heineken has just introduced the smart, what do they call it? The smart bottle or something. The returnable bottle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But when you come to the side of collecting the non-recyclable, not non-recyclable, but non-returnable, but recyclable, there's a person called the waste picker that is put as a face. But behind that, as a former waste picker, I discovered that on the ESG side, there's tools, there's data, there's metrics. You can actually tell what is happening. But on the collection side, there's only kilograms. We're talking tons, 100,000 tons. But we can't calculate the cost of getting the bottle from Coca-Cola back to Coca-Cola. An example is a waste picker wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, he walks. Now, on the ESG side or RECP side, it can be measured, that it's energy that's being used. He walks for 10 kilometers, he goes to collect bottles or plastic material, he comes back to where he is, and then he calls a buyback center, right? And it depends, because remember, waste picker is just chasing kilograms to say who's paying better. He's always chasing rands and cents. Now, when you use the tools that are used on the ESG side, bringing them on the collection, you find that actually a material that was produced cheaper by cutting cost, it costs more just to collect. So if a recyclable passes the system, by the system I'm talking recyclable waste pickers, and goes to the landfill side, that recyclable material, it's dirty, right? And it means I'm going to use, as a recycler, more water, more electricity to try and get it clean before it even gets to Coca-Cola or anything. So that on its own, when you calculate the cost of us just collecting that waste, that's why today you see our environment is actually drowning in waste. You go to township, it's a mess. And after I discovered that, because I was doing pelletizing, and I discovered that I was actually doing more harm to the environment than good. I was losing money. And I got a chance to do a RCP course with NCPC. And after actually learning there, I went back to my business and calculated how much water I'm using, how much electricity, energy, the trucks, the carbon, greenhouse gas emissions and all that. You know, when I did the calculation, I said, that is why I've been 16 years in the business and the bottom line is still red. And I immediately had to shut down that business. Crazy. And what I did, I started the foundation where we are now focusing on the community for sustainable consumption. You know, when you look at SDG 12, it speaks about sustainable consumption and production. So we're talking about production, we're doing good on production, but on the consumption, you see townships being flooded with by shopping malls everywhere. And those are products coming into the system. But the collection of that product is missing one person, which is a consumer, your community member that needs to be taught what we are discussing here. And that information is not being drilled down to our people. We've got very powerful policies. You know, we're talking the language, but the challenge is that this is not reaching to the person who goes into the shop and buys that material.
Yeah.
And you've got this waste picker that you've made a champion. Now, a consumer or a household, when they see a waste picker, it says to them, you can throw anywhere, he will pick it. You know, so that's the challenge that we're sitting with. It's because of the issues of landfill site not being properly managed, municipality, elephant in the room again, not playing their role. And yeah, because we are doing our part. We are doing our bit, but really there needs to be a relook into the system of how things are done. So mine is to say what we do on the left needs to be done on the right.
Yeah.
What Heineken, Coca-Cola is doing in their centers, it needs to be done in our communities. You know, and as K1 Recycling, I'm happy that with our foundation, we actually started a pilot project where we zoomed into community and we used the AESG tools to say, okay, let's measure how this community consumes their products. You know, I'm happy. Today, I brought an example as well. I know the lady brought, what's her name? Talita.
Yes.
Yeah, she brought, actually me and her are in the same ESG program. But I brought a gentleman who is a community leader.
Oh, wow.
You know, because I said to him, come and see what actually is being discussed by the industry and all that. Because I know that by him learning that, he's going to go back to his community city.
Where is he? Where is he?
Mr. McVeigh. Yeah, he's there.
Can I ask him one or two questions? Is that allowed? Can you give me a handheld mic? Guys, can I have a handheld mic? And may I ask you to come up onto the stage for just one or two questions?
He's got to fight.
I'm putting him on the spotlight. I'm putting him on the spotlight here because you don't tell me there's a community leader here and then I can't talk to him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hi, what is your name?
Oh, my name is Gordon Mwetimlai.
Okay.
Yes, I'm from the community called Mushweshwe section.
Mushweshwe section.
It's in Katlehong.
It's in Katlehong.
In Katlehong.
So nice to come sit. Sit. Don't be shy. Come and sit. I've just messed the whole schedule up. But tell me about the community. I mean, what is it like there?
Mushweshwe is a community in Ward 15 Katlehong. Mushweshwe community have 438 houses.
Yeah.
With population of 3,700. We have 17 shops, which is Pasa shop included, 3 taverns, 1 primary school. I'm just giving you the statistics because of we buy, we're creating more of waste because of the statistics I'm just giving you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a smaller community.
And we heard that some of these communities, and I'm not sure if your community is like this, but it's a mess and it's difficult to control the waste. What is it like for you in terms of waste management?
Fortunately, we met K1 Foundation and K1 Recycling. We manage our waste. Illegal dumping is not allowed in our community. So that's when K1 Foundation found us with how do you do it. So we have a system that you're working. We have a maintenance team that's taking care of the waste in our community. The problem is that the waste, we just take waste and burn it, the waste, and throw it away. So that's when K1 Recycling came in and said, no, some of the waste, you can use it, so you can sell it and have a production day or a production on the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we are managing our waste on our own. No municipality, no councillor, no nothing. It's only strictly the community.
So you can make money out of your waste, and you've realized this, that your community...
So we have a program that K1 Foundation just taught us, separation at source. we have a pricing source whereby when you, as a community, after buying your grocery, you know what not to waste, what we waste. We have food waste and a dry waste that we keep for recycling. Then we throw out the food waste, but we still want something to do with the food waste.
Yeah.
Just wish somebody who can come up with something so that they can help us with food waste. But on a dry waste, we are okay because we can recycle.
It's fantastic. I love this. Well done. That's so nice. And then how many years has this been going on for?
Sorry?
How long has it been happening?
That's been 2 years.
So it's
No,
2 years now.
2 years now.
And it's, I mean, when before those 2 years, what was it like when you arrived there?
Look, I've always been, I think, is my mic on?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I've always been very, I think maybe coming from a community, working very closely with communities. For
Yeah.
me, it has never made sense why, as a waste picker, we need to be working so hard, because it's not fair on the waste pickers. And again, government has been talking about the integration of waste pickers, but I've been asking to say, what does it look like? And let's describe a waste picker. Why do we call them a waste picker? Why can't we get them into communities? Because we call them our environmental champions.
absolutely
They are not waste pickers.
not a waste picker.
And we're, thanks again for the invitation, because last year we were here, and after I spoke, Coca-Cola actually came on board, and today this community is fully branded. Like I tell you, he doesn't have a computer, but he uses that. I heard us talking about technology. It's very important.
Yeah.
And don't look at the community and think that it's poor. There's a lot happening in there. I mean, now he knows the greenhouse gases. He teaches his community, he goes on WhatsApp, Meta AI, and he sends me, look what I learned. This is what I got, And I share the information that I take from here to say I need to drill it down. So as SK1 Foundation, our aim, because now he's got about 11 leaders from other communities, and say, we want what you do. We want to have, so we don't have enough resources. And as I think Tsapi, he said, panel discussion to partners. So I'm hoping after here we'll have more partners to come and help our community.
And more communities like this. Okay, so I'm going to keep you here for a sec. Don't go anywhere because I'm not going to disrupt the panel now. But Rishel, I've kept you waiting. And I mean, this is where I think your expertise would come in, because a question to you really is, what investment opportunities exist in this waste management? Because we've seen this, besides the incredible work that can be done in communities, there's also investment opportunities, and it's all these partnerships that we can eliminate so much by creating these partnerships. Talk to us about this, Rishel.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity. I think it starts off fundamentally when you categorize it as waste. When people classify the resource as waste, it's usually assigned a zero value or as a cost obligation. But when you rather categorize waste and you recognize it for the resource that it is, then suddenly the dynamic changes and you start to look at now the benefits of reusing or repurposing those sources of waste, what we classify conventionally as waste. So if you look at it, just some statistics, Global Circularity Report, as an extractive economy, we talk of this linear economy, circular economy. The recent data from an extractive economy, we use only 7% of the resources that we have consumed is actually recycled. So to quantify that in terms of numbers, in the last 5-6 years, 500 billion tons of material has been used, with only less than 7% of that being recycled or reused.
Sure.
That 500 billion tons then equated is almost equal to the amount that we've consumed in the last 100 years in the 20th century.
Sure.
So it shows how economy, in terms of use, where we are going from that exponential growth, and how in terms of reusing or repurposing this waste, we're falling behind. So when it comes now to economic benefit and how do you use these kinds of things, this fundamentally, I think as we sit across this table and we've listened, we're all well aware that technology exists in terms of reprocessing waste. Fundamentally, we're aware of it. Now, currently, I represent the German ministry. We look at the German technology and we use them as case studies because Germany is one of the leading examples, if you look at Europe or in the world, in terms of how they process waste, the biogas industry, leading in the world, municipal waste recovery, over 60% compared to South Africa, where the statistics are in single-digit numbers. So we look at these things and we try and do that. Fundamentally, we have to recognize technology is available, but it's important for us when we bring technology to look at it, understand what the local skill set is, and localize it. It's not a plug and play. We can't just bring technology, mass burn incineration. You want to do these bulk, large industrial scale incinerators and the likes, come and plug and play because you see it working there. Fundamentally, technically they work, but you've got to look at the business sense around it. And for us, and working in the sector in the past 16 odd years, it's a different dynamic. So to give you an example, you spoke earlier about municipal landfills.
Yeah.
So one of the challenges we try to do, and we work with private partners, so a public-private partnership model is ideally if you're looking at large-scale municipal waste sector. This is something we need to look at and kind of be a bit more forthright in terms of approach, because we understand the challenges within municipality, be it from a skill set, the capacity, the availability of funding. However, you still have a silo mentality effect at municipal level, in that if you're sitting with someone in the waste collection side, their focus is only on the waste. They want to procure the waste at the cheapest price, the tipping fee that they can get. Conversely, municipality also generates revenue from electricity. So when you're talking to them, and if they want to do now a waste to energy project, Municipal Finance Management Act, they have to procure electricity at the cheapest price. So you sit with this conundrum now in terms of financial modeling and how you want to structure these deals. You do these deals, it's a balancing act. You get fees from tipping fee, you get fees from sale of electricity or energy if you're converting it to heat, or you do what we call tri-generation, and you do cooling systems, or you do biogas generation. All of this technology is available, and we've done it, and we've even done it localized, where we've run taxis, for example, on biogas or compressed natural gas. We've taken landfill gas and we've done it. Fundamentally, you have to understand the municipality is constrained in terms of local acts and regulations, so you need regulatory approval in terms of how you bypass that system. And then fundamentally, you also then now look at concessionary funding, because in order to be able to do these things, bottom line is we can all talk the sustainability with the sustainability lens and, use that conundrum. But when you're talking to private sector, it's an economic benefit, financial viability.
Yeah.
What's my return on investment, and how does this impact? So from there, that's why you start looking at concessional funding, support to investment. How do you support a business that's socially gender inclusive, that, considering how high unemployment, the youth unemployment, that is embracive. When you look at communities, how do you bring them into this ecosystem? So I think for us, that's part of the work that, we're trying to do is when we bring technology, you make it adaptable to local conditions. You don't need necessarily the automated kind of stuff, because we have this current problems that we do have, high unemployment, the skills deficit. So how do you customize it for local conditions? How do you overcome the barriers when it comes to regulatory barriers? And how do you access these this concessionary or incentives in terms of funding just to make them viable?
So, Avashnee, if we look at government policies on all of this, because that perhaps is where we need to look, the role of government policies and regulations in supporting a circular economy. You say there's so many different regulations and so many impediments in this, but what do the policies say? How is it looking?
Okay, so I think South Africa is quite progressive in terms of our Waste Management Act. In November 2021, we made it mandatory for producers of packaging to contribute what we call extended producer responsibility fees for the collection and the recycling of the packaging at its end of life. So as a producer of packaging, you then have to join a producer responsibility organization, a PRO, to administer the scheme for you. And you have to contribute monthly fees based on the volumes of packaging that you put onto the South African market. And actually, we've done incredible work in the plastics industry. If I just look at our collection rates, and I'm just thinking back to the last report that was published by Plastics SA, I think our collection rate of plastic sits above 50%.
Well done.
And that is incredible.
That really is
considering
incredible.
the service delivery challenges as a country that we have, right? But where is this collection coming from? It's not the private sector. This collection is coming from the informal sector, and it's the waste reclaimers. So in the informal sector, we have some 95,000 people that are employed as waste reclaimers.
95,000?
95,000.
Bigger? Smaller than that? What do you think?
Well, to my knowledge, when you ask our government, government says that we've got less than 10,000.
Less than?
10,000.
Never.
That's a pity.
Yes. We were there at the head office in Pretoria. And the reason is because, look, like I said, I don't think enough research was done. The truth of the matter is that majority of our waste pickers are your undocumented foreigners.
Okay.
And there's just a few number of South Africans, and they got this data during lockdown because they had a program where they gave vouchers to waste pickers, right? But you had to have your ID, your municipal account, and now that's when they discovered that actually we have a very few waste pickers as South Africans. The other ones are undocumented, which is still a problem for the EPR scheme. I think many of us have seen the documentary or investigation that was done. It was on a Sunday show. Not Carte Blanche, there's the other one. But they were questioned to say, when are you going to pay this money? And the problem that the PROs are sitting with is that how do you pay an undocumented person? And this, I know maybe I would be hated for this, but as Tshepo, we've been arguing this to say, look, why are we looking at a waste picker? Why can't we benefit our communities? Why can't we encourage communities to actually do their separation at source? You know, obviously our municipality is not well functioning properly, but if we can incentivize our communities, we will actually be able to collect more cleaner waste. And cleaner waste means using less resources.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, if I have to go and buy waste from a landfill site, in my wash plant or wash tank, it means the water, thousands of liters that I'm using, I have to change them maybe twice a week. But if I'm getting cleaner waste, I can now use that water longer. You know, the electricity that we have to use. So working with communities, you know, your carbon footprint and things like that, you are closer to the community. It's cleaner waste. Then it makes your machines to last longer. You use less resources. So in terms of the data, that's where the problem is. We don't have proper data because of, like I said, the tools on the other side of responsible consumption, which is what we are trying to push with them. For us, it's not about just waste or kilograms. It's about the information that we are getting here. What's the difference? What difference are you making when you are picking up that rubbish? Like he said, they were banning waste. They are not today because they've got understanding. They said it damages our environment. So, yeah, the issue of data, I think, is the biggest thing on the side of the collection, where we need to really have tools to say, if we're saying we're celebrating, I mean, last year I got the best collector from Polyco. No, I'm part of the 20 million tons of waste collected last year, but I was not happy with that because I said, at what cost? Because I understand what happens on the RCP side to say, how much does it cost for this waste to be collected? Get the emissions, you know, like I said, the traveling. If you look around, you find trucks with bales, with bags, just going up and down. Let's calculate. If you go to Heineken, they calculate the diesel, the transport, the routes that they are traveling, you know, to try and cut down on emissions, on diesel usages, on electricity. Are we doing the same on the other side?
Yeah.
I think that's where we are still.
I suppose it's interesting conversations to have. And these are the kind of things that we need to open our minds to.
Definitely.
All of us.
Yeah. And what I want to say is that collection is a cost driver.
Yeah.
Recycling is the consequence.
Okay.
But often industry is not committing or, you know, making investments in the collection. And, you know, like my colleague said here, that it's a logistic nightmare to move waste. And if you just think of plastic, you're moving air. Most of it is actually air. So you need to bale the material. And then depending on the source, if it's coming from landfill or from a dump site, contamination is a huge issue. So now you need to clean this waste. You need to decontaminate it, remove any volatiles. And it must come back to a facility like ourselves that produces food contact material. It needs to be of the highest purity.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be a huge investment in this country in terms of the collection. And we spoke about separation at source. That is what we need.
Yes.
And this is an opportunity for public-private sector partnerships to make this a reality in South Africa. We need separation at source of our waste.
Yeah. And such a brilliant community initiative. And I'm so glad that you are here to spread an example. And I want to start wrapping this up because we've got to get to the end of this panel. But before I wrap this up, and I will get a final word from you, but how has this changed your community's lives? Especially people perhaps maybe that are now earning a living from doing the separation and from finally taking control of the waste management at the source.
Like I said, we have now community champions that we call them the maintenance team. They're championing taking care of the environment. So we have packaging Thursday. Every Thursday we come and collect the waste that was separated from the houses. Each and every house they will put the waste outside and they will take it to K1's recycling. They weigh it and they will pay them. Probably 12 people are getting, it's not a salary, that incentive from there, but we need more support so that they can be salary tomorrow.
Exactly.
But at least I can buy roll-on, I can buy something to brush my teeth with the same waste. That's why I'm saying we want something to make sure that about the food waste, because already dry waste we are dealing with it, but we are still we need support on the food waste because we want to have the compost using the very same food waste.
Yeah.
So we sell compost so that we can add money from that one we have over dry waste, because already dry waste we have something from it through K1 Foundation. I think the education, greenhouse gas emission, we didn't know about those things. We just ban everything because it's a township. But it's very much important because now climate change is affecting us. So now today we know that we must take care of our environment. How do you take care of the environment? Illegal dumping, minus illegal dumping. That at least we can do as a community. Yeah. So we take that's why we are more on separation as source, so we understand it. So that's the difference that we have now and before.
Amazing. You know, the mindset, the education, the facts have just made all the difference in the world into this community. Rishel, give us some closing points on your side on everything we've learned today. And I think we've learned so much more than we bargained for in just hearing practical experience of what something like this can do for a community.
I think just to sum it up, I mean, Dr. Avashnee has mentioned, we're quite progressive when it comes to regulation. One of the challenges that we have is when it comes to enforcement. That's why enforcement is a big thing. We can have all of these regulations are nice to have, but at the landfills, we don't have weigh bridges that working. We can't account for it. Someone pays the guys at the landfill when he's accessing the vehicles for bringing unauthorized waste and all of these burdens. So these challenges when it comes to enforcement is a big thing. And clearly, as we've seen, a great example in terms of awareness. So once we become aware of the implications of our actions, and here, to hear firsthand from someone involved at community and at grassroots level, I think is fundamental, because usually at oversights, we sit either as deal makers or as bankers, and we conceptualize these business plans or these ideas, but when it comes to stakeholder involvement and people who are impacted directly, at community level and stuff, that's where we need to be a bit more inclusive. So for me, is when you make it a much more inclusive stakeholder engagement, the solutions that can come about is, I think, fundamentally, so much more opportunities can arise out of that from being an inclusive stakeholder engagement. Yeah.
My closing point is we touched on the issue of unemployment. Look, I said I just want to say we are missing an opportunity, because working with communities, what we do is collecting data just more than just the kilograms. He didn't know the stats that he gave you. I sat down with him to say, we need to get data from your community. We started calculating the houses, and not only do we get about waste, but about the unemployment rate that is within the community. But we also get that we've got graduates within communities. We've got youth that is there, and that's energy. That's young people that can be used. We've got understanding. Because I'll tell you what, with the waste picker, for example, there's a lot of programs. PROs are doing great jobs. But if you put a billboard for a waste picker, it's people who are uneducated. They don't even look at it. You got WhatsApps or things online and social media. They can't. But if we were to engage the youth that we have in the township, that have got the understanding, that can actually read and write, they can then be able to assist with especially companies that are big on their ESG implementation, to get data on the other side, to get the information down into their community much better, because I think that's where the gap is, to say there's a lot of money spent to saying waste pickers, if you look at it, they're giving gloves, overalls, masks, and that's it. But anything that you can read, and we're talking technology here, we're talking AI, but we've got young people that are sitting at home who can bridge that gap. Absolutely. In terms of the producer, the brand owners, and the community. So this is what, as K1 Foundation, we're actually inviting, partners that are here to say, we are not just about waste. We are about resource efficiency, and that includes people. And then we can help you to get the data from communities, and you can use it back and create that brand loyalty. Because when somebody's sitting there drinking Heineken, having the facts about Heineken, they're enjoying their drink.
Yeah.
They know how Heineken is creating, playing a role in the environment, in the social, and that it's treating its employees properly. They are well paid, they are well taken care of. Then when I drink my Heineken, I'm proud. And that's where we promote the local buying, and supporting our product.
Yeah, and I mean, we can sort of laugh about it, but it's the truth. It's a fact of the matter. If you know that a company you're supporting is doing the right thing, you will support them, and that goes without say. And I think, and I'm sorry that I keep bringing the whole Elon Musk and Tesla story into it. You see how the share price has gone down. You see what's happening because people don't agree with many of the points that are being raised by the owner itself, and it brings into a massive conversation, and that's why what you're saying is so true. I mean, at Safripol, I came as a guest last year, and I got to experience what it is that you guys do, which is amazing, and also being introduced to the people that recycle the goods and the amazing products that are being made, stuff that would blow people's minds that we're not too aware of. But at the same time, Avashnee, there's a lot more that needs to go into it. As you say, this is a circular economy. It's bigger than any of us even imagine. Perhaps just give us your closing thoughts on this.
Yeah. I think we need to monetize waste.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yes.
Waste is only waste if you waste it. So we need to think of waste as raw materials. We need to think of the waste reclaimers as suppliers of raw materials. And if it's valuable, it will be picked up, it will be collected, it will be recycled, it will come back into the industry.
Yeah.
So I think it's a collective responsibility of all of us in the value chain. We need unprecedented collaborations like we've never seen before to transform this industry. And I think there is definitely the will, there is commitment from major brand owners. We just need to stop talking and start doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Brilliant way to leave it. Guys, thank you. Thank you to every one of you for being here. And so nice of you to come and join us as well. Thank you. Well done.